Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Optimy webinar on corporate philanthropy in action. Before I get started, can you please confirm in the chat section that you can find bottom right if you can hear me properly? Okay. Hey, Lauren. Nice to see you here. Welcome, Miranda. Thank you. Perfect. So my name is Lucy. I'm the event coordinator at Optimy, and today I have the pleasure to host this webinar with our CEO, Kenneth Bérard, who will be leading the interview with one of our customers from Bridgestone, Wade Munday, sorry, is actually facing a little connection issue, but so that's why I already started introducing the webinar in the meantime. So as you know, we're gonna focus today on how to align the CSR and social impact, generally speaking, initiative worldwide. So as a multinational or as an organization active in several locations. So what to take into consideration, the main challenges, best practices, and so on. And in order to do this, we will really focus on Bridgestone use case. So we'll have Wade really sharing his experience and his testimonial on this market leader and one specific industry market leader. So that's one thing. I think that's it for the introduction. Another thing, so as we are quite some people today, it won't be possible for you to speak, but you can post every question you may have either in the chat section or in the question section. Ideally, it would be like in the question section so that we can rate and vote on which question that kind of leads more interest, so that if we don't have enough questions enough time to cover them during the live session, we will go back to you after. What else could I share? Yeah, feel free to really interact, put some remarks. What are like the main outcome eventually you're expecting from today's session? If there is any specific topic that you would like to have covered, we are really keen to take into consideration why you took your time today to join us. So yeah, we're happy to help. What else? I think that's it for me. Kenneth, I let you introduce yourself and take the lead on this.
Thank you very much, Lucy. So I'm Kenneth. I'm the CEO and founder of Optimy. I'm super I think a good start point would be to learn more about you. With what have you been doing before Bridgestone? Why you decided to join Bridgestone, and what's your role at Bridgestone? If you
Thank you, Lucy.
Sure.
Thank you, Kenneth. Thank you, everyone, for joining the webinar. I come from a nonprofit background. I'm located in Nashville, Tennessee, and I've been with Bridgestone Americas for the last year. Prior to that, my work focused on nonprofit leadership and development, and I had a varied career spanning across the world. Most recently, I was the leader of a nonprofit organization that delivered telemedicine services to refugee camps and to hospitals, government hospitals in East Africa. Prior to that, I was the leader of a nonprofit immigration law firm. So the intersection of health and human rights is where my work sits primarily. In that role, I had a lot of experience interfacing with the public. I also had a great deal of involvement leading fundraising initiatives, working with corporations like Bridgestone or other global corporations that intersected with my work. Mostly my nonprofit fundraising experience came to family foundations and large global foundations in order to pursue the work that I was doing there. I've managed teams of people in various global settings. So at the height of the at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, I was managing a team of healthcare leaders who in total had 40 virtual healthcare clinicians in various locations around the world. And so have seen the way that nonprofit service delivery has evolved over time and through various crises. And here we are now having a virtual webinar with all of the technical complications that come with it. But I'm really happy to be here, and I'm happy to share the last year has taught me at Bridgestone and where we're heading in the future and how Optimy has helped us achieve our goals.
Any particular reason why you decided to join Bridgestone?
Yeah, it's located, our America's headquarters is in Nashville, so it's local to me. It's also a company that I identify with. The corporate mission is serving society with superior quality. And so in the production and manufacturing of tires, we're the largest tire manufacturer in the world. They're delivering innovative products that are striving towards sustainability. Like many of the major auto manufacturers, we strive to be carbon free by 2050. We also strive to have a completely sustainable tire made from sustainable materials and that are healthy for the environment, that are safe for drivers. And I think that's one of the most important things, is that we want to deliver the most quality product for our customers, because you're carrying your children to soccer games, or you're carrying your loved ones to and from work. And that's really important to us to, as an extension of that corporate mission, where I sit now as the first director of corporate philanthropy at Bridgestone, which is a 100-year-old company. It's not only delivering on our corporate mission, but an extension of that, where we co-create value with nonprofit organizations, non-governmental organizations, and in some cases, government entities, in order to create meaningful solutions. And that work, I think, spoke to me overwhelmingly throughout my interview process last year. It was very important that I contribute to society in a meaningful way. And the impact that Bridgestone is able to make as a global company, and as a company that's rooted with integrity in serving society, led me to where I am here.
Okay. And I think in this context, we had the chance to talk about it before while preparing this interview, is that in 2022, Bridgestone rolled out what they call the E8 commitment. I guess that's also one of the reasons why you joined, to really help releasing this commitment. Could you tell us a bit more about this E8 commitment?
Yeah, the company is headquartered globally in Japan, and our global CEO had created a vision for how we continue to live out that corporate mission of serving society. Originally, we had an E12 commitment, because in Japan, 12 is a perfect number. And so we were able to, from a communication standpoint, this preceded me, reduce the number of E's to 8. But these are all integral to who we are as a company, the way we conduct our business, from manufacturing to delivering services. In the United States, we operate 2,300 auto repair facilities called Firestone Complete Auto Care, and a number of other brands associated with that. And so we provide social and customer value as a sustainable solutions company. We're on an evolution as a company from not just being the largest tire manufacturer, but a company that's focused on delivering sustainable solutions for people wherever you move, live, work, and play. And so to that end, the E8 commitment is infused within all that we do. We're committed to the realization of a carbon neutral mobility society. And again, our aim is to be a carbon neutral company by 2050. We're committed to advancing sustainable tire technologies and solutions that preserve the environment for future generations through ecology. So what that means is that our tire technologies not only bring in sustainable rubber and manufacturing practices, but it's also a way of creating a longer lasting tire. That way there's less waste. We're focused heavily as a company on end of life tire cycle. How can we use recycled tires to reduce waste in our company? We're committed to maximizing productivity through the advancement of mobility. That's our efficiency commitment. We're committed to nonstop mobility and innovation that keeps people in the world moving ahead through extension. We're committed to maximizing the economic value of mobility and business operations. We're committed to inspiring excitement and spreading joy to the world of mobility. Part of that commitment is we're sponsors of the Paris Olympics this year, as well as the Paralympics, and we are going to continue beyond this to support the Paralympics, both internationally and locally. We're committed to bringing comfort and peace of mind to mobility life. And finally, probably the commitment that intersects mostly with my work at the Bridgestone America's Trust Fund and in corporate philanthropy is empowerment, which is that we're committed to contributing to a society that ensures accessibility and dignity for all. When we co-create value with nonprofit organizations, we're focused on not only empowering our teammates to be involved in those solutions in society, but also empowering others in society to live their fullest life.
Okay, there are quite ambitious objectives, I guess. Knowing also that you are a global company, how do you concretely roll out such program with a focus on your activity, of course, if that's fine with you? How do you roll out this program? Do you drive it globally? Do local entities have certain flexibility, or they have to follow a very specific framework in the program they support? How does it work?
I take a very incremental approach to what I do. Charitable giving, I see as a uniquely kind of American aspect of corporate life. Our colleagues in Japan participate in corporate and charitable giving in a different way, mostly when it comes to disaster response. And I think previously Bridgestone had been engaged in the United States in charitable giving through mostly local grants to nonprofit organizations. And so the next stage of our evolutionary process has been to incorporate more strategic partners in our charitable giving portfolio. We have been giving on average hundreds of grants to nonprofit organizations, but these were small contributions meant to show our commitment to the community, to help support the work of good nonprofits that partner together with us to create volunteer events, to feed our communities, to help get people into employment. In this next stage of our work, strategic philanthropy is really focused on leveraging our expertise and our skills as business leaders in the mobility industry to find meaningful solutions. For instance, there is a serious dearth of auto technicians in the United States and technical workers in general. Many students are opting to forego technical college and career counseling for traditional career in college or for other alternative employment types. However, working in the auto industry is a high-paying job. And so we work together with a nonprofit, specifically TechForce Foundation, in order to provide scholarships for young people who are entering a technical career. I think the industry lacks around 95,000 people who will work on our cars on the roads of America every year for the next 10 years. We need 95,000 more auto workers to do that. And so we're partnering with TechForce Foundation to close that gap. And that's a meaningful contribution where we have stores where we can place people who need jobs. They're good paying jobs. They're nearing a living, they're at around a living wage in most places. And so we want to continue to create the environment where people can have a good paying job and their communities can benefit from that. And in the end, all of society benefits from a partnership like that. We are joined alongside Ford Motor Company and GM, all the major auto manufacturers, to support TechForce Foundation. And that's just one example of our strategic portfolio. Back to your question, that's what we're doing in the United States. That is not what is happening in the rest of the company. And so as we demonstrate the efficiency of this process, how it's not just getting money to nonprofits, but it's getting money to nonprofits to create a meaningful solution that leverages our industry position, we hope that other regions see that framework and can follow it with our guidance. And so my role is to amplify this work and socialize it among the various other regions. We're, I think, mostly a decentralized company where local regions can make their own decisions about how they want to engage in charitable giving or how they want to engage in their own local communities. We provide guidance and support to enable that. And so what we're looking at is for the next 5 years to slowly support the other regions to engage in charitable giving, primarily places like Europe and Middle East and North Africa, but also extending into Asia. And that's just on the charitable giving front. We also have a volunteer program where we know that of the 145,000 plus employees of Bridgestone around the world, we are engaged in our communities in various nonprofit organizations. We haven't collected that information, and Optimy has been, I think, really crucial in the first phase of that project of collecting the information of all of our employees who are volunteering in their communities so that we can tabulate the amount of hours that we spend giving back to the community and the ways that we give back to the community in meaningful ways that hopefully show that we genuinely care. It's not a top-down mandate at Bridgestone. It is something that I think is created organically. And I'm really proud of the work that our teammates do and hope to see in 2025 and beyond, our teammates get credit for the ways that they give back to their communities.
Okay, so if I get it well, you have some guidelines at global level that you try to apply, and then locally entities can operate a bit their way. Is it right?
That's right. We unveil playbooks for certain activities. So for instance, we have a global road safety playbook. When it comes to community volunteering, we know there's an organic approach to giving back to communities. However, if there's guidance that teammates need, if you in your corporate department want to create a volunteer activity, we have a road safety playbook that's very robust that can share practices on how to organize an event, what type of an event leverages your skills and our company position to make the most meaningful impact. And so that's just one example of a playbook that we offer to our teams globally in order to help guide.
And do you try to create synergy between your different activities? So, for example, combining volunteering activities with grant activity or donation and combine? If yes, I don't know if you have a case you could share with us. And do you see some positive output out of it? So if I summarize and come back to my first question, do you create synergy? Do you try to create this synergy between volunteering, donation, grants, sponsorship, or do you keep? You were mentioning, for example, the sponsoring of the Paralympic this year. I think that's really nice. It's what I would call personally responsible sponsorships, responsible sponsoring. So do you combine this activity, or they more operate independently?
No, we like to think that everything is connected. And so what we tell our grant makers in full transparency is the way any relationship begins first with Bridgestone America's Trust Fund is through volunteering. If our teammates are engaged in a nonprofit organization, then the next part of the process is they've been volunteering, and then they can recommend that nonprofit organization for a charitable grant. And then that charitable grant is used to augment or enhance the activities that our teammates were engaged in, or in any of the work that our nonprofits are engaged in. One strategic shift that we made this year is towards unrestricted grant funding for nonprofits. And so there are never strings attached to the money that we give to nonprofits. It's always unrestricted grants. We want to build trust with the communities in which we work. And I think crucial to that is understanding that we have to trust the nonprofits that we work with. In the United States, and I'm sure this is true in Europe and many other parts of the world, nonprofit organizations and NGOs are governed by a strict regulatory framework by the tax authorities and by the government. And as long as all of the paperwork is in place, we know that you have been working with our teammates. We're going to trust that you are going to do what's best with the money that we give. But it always starts with an initial relationship with our teammates to volunteer with that organization. In the sports portfolio, we mentioned the Olympics and the Paralympics. On a local level here in Nashville, there is a nonprofit, Play Like a Girl. It's encouraging young women and girls to have confidence and engage in sports. There's a link between sports and STEM education. There's a link between STEM education and getting a high-paying job at the executive level. And so we began by partnering with this nonprofit organization, Play Like a Girl, where our teammates would mentor young girls to be involved in sports, to doing homework with them. It was a very informal mentorship process. But from that relationship came a very large strategic partnership where now we're working with them and with the NFL in various local markets, the National Football League in America, in order to create new chapters of Play Like a Girl in various cities where there's a football team. And so flag football is one of the pillars of engagement that we work with these young girls. It's teaching them how to be a part of a team and preparing them on the field so they can be prepared off the field as well. That's a partnership that has been very successful, and we're continuing to invest in that organization to reach tens of thousands more girls and connect them to mentors both at Bridgestone and at our other corporate partners locations.
Okay. Do you have any data? Have you collected any data showing that the combination of volunteering, more grant, for example, instead of being 1 + 1 = 2 = 3, do you have some knowledge, insights that you could share or not, maybe, demonstrating that there is an added value to combine these activities?
Yeah, there are a couple of studies that have come out in recent years that do demonstrate how corporate engagement leads to more positive workplace environment. And I think one of the most telling statistics for me, I mean, you can look at the stats and see that 80+% of workers like it when their company has volunteer activities that are available for them, when they can identify with a company's mission through the way that company shows up for its community. It benefits the company's reputation among its employees, which, from that statistic, there is, I think it correlates loosely to employee retention. I think the most meaningful statistic that I found in recent years was a study from, I think, 2021, where 58% of employees would remain with a company if they felt a deep sense of engagement with that company's volunteer activities. It's a way of retaining high quality employees by building an authentic relationship. We are all about building an authentic relationship with our communities, and I think that starts by building an authentic relationship with our employees, being responsive to the things that they care about. And I mentioned it before on this call that we are democratizing our giving process, but we're also democratizing the way that our volunteers, our teammates, show up to volunteer in communities. We don't have a top-down approach that dictates that you have to do a road safety activity. But wherever you show up, we look at the data within our own company and see that, for instance, as we're collecting volunteer engagement stories from our teammates using Optimy platform, we're identifying trends. Where are people volunteering? Is it at a food bank? Is it at an animal shelter? And this will largely guide our decision making at a foundation level where we want to give our money and where we want to focus our communications efforts, because that's the authentic story that we want to tell about our teammates.
That fully makes sense to me, based on my experience exchanging with organizations. So if I get it well, you have some guidelines, but your colleagues have the freedom to come with proposition, and you look at data which help you defining where to go. That's what you mean. Okay. So that brings me to my next question is, it's always a challenge to convert ideas, tactics into day-to-day work. So you mentioned playbook, you mentioned guidelines, how do you concretely operate with the team? So not talking especially about Optimy, that's not the purpose, but do you have tools in place, process in place? Do you leverage your intranet mainly to ensure that people work first, follow up your guidelines, and secondly, operate in an effective way so you can have access to data after, generate reports, share your insights? How do you do all that today?
Well, first, we have a robust internal communications plan that we share with all of our teammates throughout the enterprise, letting them know, leveraging our intranet systems, our internal facing website, where they can go, where's the one-stop shop for the playbook, for our giving policies, for our ways of working, essentially. And so we leverage that. We also provide regular internal communication updates. There are touch points throughout the year where we have enterprise-wide town hall meetings. We might send an email to the entire enterprise with updates about various programs that are ongoing. I've mentioned charitable giving and employee volunteering. We also manage a scholarship program for young people. And so in the next couple of weeks, I'll be announcing the winners of our scholarship program, which is actually a program that was started by the president of Firestone, so Bridgestone, Firestone are the same company. Harvey Firestone Sr. established a scholarship program in conjunction with President Warren Harding at the time, and it was a scholarship for young women to go to college. So I'll be announcing, I think, 15 scholarship recipients as an extension of that long legacy of supporting higher education and young people pursuing higher education in the next couple of weeks, which is really exciting. And so we have these sorts of programs and announcements that keep our corporate philanthropy initiatives at top of mind for all of our teammates. Even if you are not someone who is the parent of a young person entering college, you still know that we exist, that we have services for our teammates, and we have services for the community as well.
Okay, so it's not for you, it's not a big challenge. Or is it a challenge to really operate that from data perspective? For example, do you aim and do you have access to data about what's done in the different countries? Do you collect data about that? Do you are able to generate reports?
Yes, we generate reports on a variety of different levels. So in the Americas and now across Europe and the Middle East and Africa, we are able to generate reports through our employee engagement survey, which is a global initiative that really touches on our sense of community and well-being, how connected our teammates feel to our business. That's a very granular approach to data, but we also collect data on our grantees, what sort of impact we're making when we make a charitable contribution, what sort of impact we're making when we participate in volunteer activities. And from a global level, I sit on a global working group focused on people in the community. So with my colleagues across Asia, Europe, Middle East and Africa, North and South America, we are focused on telling a genuine story about our beneficiaries. So what that means is we want to be as specific as possible. We will be rolling out guidelines for our global teammates. When we say that we gave money to a program to benefit a certain community, what does that mean? How did we benefit them? We want to be as transparent as possible to say that we invested in this organization in this way, and this is what happened as a result of it. Similarly, we want to measure our teammates' response to a volunteer activity, whether or not it did deepen their level of engagement with the company, deepen their sense of community within the places where they live, move, work, and play. And that's the sort of data that we're compiling and collecting. And again, we're on this process of evolving as a company to become more sophisticated in the way we engage our community. So we're not there yet. We have disparate parts of points of data that we're trying to collect, and across the various regions, we're trying to create a uniform data measurement system. That way we can tell one authentic story about the work that we're doing in our communities.
Okay. Excellent. To conclude, it would be great if you could share with us some of your tips. So my first question would be, what advice would you give to your peers who are managing the same time of activities with regard to change management in the organization, getting your colleagues engaged and so on? What would be some tips that you would like to share?
Yeah, the first thing that I did in my role is to focus on customer service. I started working at a very young age in a customer service sales related position. And I think that's really crucial to establishing rapport with people, being transparent with people, and starting to socialize certain policies and practices. It all starts with kind of selling the program. And so whenever I receive an email, I respond to it. I don't just pass it off to someone. So I think that's a really important piece of advice for anyone working in this area. It is difficult to maintain a clean inbox, but every Friday I try to get an inbox zero. And whether I'm interfacing with a grant seeker or whether I'm interfacing with someone internally within my company, it's important that there is someone that they can talk to. Now, there are certain tricks within my Outlook inbox where I can automate some rules and clean up my inbox a little bit quicker. And that's, I think, pretty easy to discover. But the first thing I would say is to communicate internally and externally with people as much as you can, be open and available to them. And then I think the second thing is to identify the power structure within your company that can allow you to socialize best practices in the most efficient way. Like I said, we're not a top-down company. We are an organization that really prides organic and authentic engagement with our communities. However, there are certain individuals and organizations that have more leverage when it comes to communicating policies and practices and the road safety playbook, like I mentioned earlier. There are people better than me who can communicate those things within the enterprise that will just create a better outcome than if I simply put out an email and said, here's a road safety playbook. So it's leading by example and empowering other parts of our business to be those leaders that we know that they can be.
Okay, clear. A lot about communication. That fully makes sense. If you have one hope, what's your biggest hope in your role? You mentioned, and it's crystal clear that social impact is key for you. You were we can see it in your career. It's not just a role for you; it's part of you. So, what's your biggest hope? What would you like to achieve in your role in the coming years?
Yeah, so I hope that we can be a part of telling the Bridgestone story as we become a carbon neutral company, as we achieve certain sustainability standards within the company. I know that from a business perspective, our sustainability unit seems to be ahead of schedule on a lot of their deliverables. So as we seek to be a more responsible and sustainable business, I want to leverage my position to help speed up that process even more, to tell an authentic story about how we're showing up for our community. And since this is an Earth Day webinar, showing up for our planet and being responsible stewards of this great privilege we have of being a tire and mobility solutions industry leader. With charitable giving and teammate engagement, we can accelerate that process to, it sounds ambitious, to slow climate change, to slow the degradation of our planet. And so that's my, I think, moonshot idea for my department and my work.
Nice. Thank you very much for sharing. A lot of interesting insights. Lucy, I don't know if you have some questions, if you want to address some questions.
No, I would rather prefer to give the floor to the attendees, and then if there is no question, I will ask my questions. And if Wade, sorry, I'm gonna make it. I don't know if you want to share anything else. If there is any other thing that you would like to share with the attendees today.
I would say that we have been on a very long journey from being a small foundation here in the United States, operating 170 years ago is when the foundation started. So again, that's just part of our work. But accumulating the tools and identifying the right tools to bring that into what we call Bridgestone 3.0 has been a slow and methodical process. It's taken a year to identify the right tools and the right processes. And so one thing that I didn't touch on is just finding the right team to help you achieve your goals is really important. And it's not just with your software tools and capabilities or with your direct reports, but it's, I think, throughout the enterprise. And there are people in parts of the business that I might not have thought originally would have helped me achieve my goals, but ultimately they are helping me achieve my goals. So teamwork is incredibly important.
Yeah, indeed. So I think it's time now to go to move to the Q&A session. So if you have any questions, either to Wade or to Kenneth, feel free to post it in the chat, and it will be a pleasure for us to respond to it. We still have 5 minutes, more or less. So it's now or never. I'm just giving, sorry for the silence. I was just waiting for people to have the time to post their question in the
While
chat.
we wait for questions, I have one question for you, Wade. Do you interact and collaborate with other corporations?
Yeah, actually, one of the really important parts of my work is co-creating value with our business partners. And it's important that we find business partners who are committed to the environment in the same way that we are. Like I said, our partnership with Tech Force Foundation also includes a partnership with Ford Motor Company. Yeah. We were named Supplier of the Year by Ford earlier this year. And that's an important relationship where we know our charitable dollars are going somewhere that Ford is also giving. And so by doing that, we can really maximize our impact, but also create a deep and meaningful relationship that can lead to better business opportunities, frankly.
Okay, and do you think that's an ongoing trend in the industry, that corporations collaborate more and more together?
Yeah, I think collaboration is something that should be normalized within the industry. We try to set ourselves apart as, we're the largest charitable donor to this organization. I think that's less important than seeing companies working together towards these, really large, complex challenges like climate change. I think that's something that not only resonates with our teammates, but many of our customers who are millennials and Gen Z, and to seeing that we're working together to find common ground and to find common solutions rather than just putting a feather in our cap to say that we did this, we're a hero. I think in today's world, we're not looking for heroes, we're looking for partners.
Yeah. And you mentioned it during the discussion. You also mentioned that social impact is getting more professional in a way. I've been active into social impact for more than 10 years now. And when I talk with even the young generation, and I would say you are the young generation because you are younger than I, it's not just about, it's not only about doing good, it's also real professional people who are coming with, who are data-driven, who are business-driven, who want to create the link between the business and so on. So, and you mentioned how key it is to have the right team members around you. Would you agree that there is really a professionalization of the industry? It's not just, the cool guy doing the job. It's also people who are really target-oriented, objective-oriented, and want to make it a real professional growth and not just a cool job.
Yeah, and I see that mostly in organizations that are committed to advocacy. So in the United States, there is a large movement where a nonprofit organization that may have been focused on service-related work also has an advocacy arm that is focused on creating change through government policies. And that is the way to bring a thought or an idea to scale. And so I see that as the professionalization of the industry. It's not just one person standing alone trying to do good, but it's, one of my favorite quotes is from Henry David Thoreau, which is, don't simply be good, but be good for something. And I see a lot of young people, whether they're involved in political campaigns or in this nonprofit advocacy work. In my location in Nashville, Tennessee, there are immigrant rights advocacy groups that have been fighting against some, nativist resentments. And we're trying to build a more inclusive society. We're a global company at Bridgestone. And so we support the actions of nonpartisan nonprofit groups that are working to create a more diverse, inclusive, and open society. That's something that I don't think we would have seen 10 or 20 years on the scale that we've seen it now. More nonprofits are embracing advocacy, and I think that's a welcome change.
That's great.
Yes.
That will certainly ensure the sustainability of the industry and the movement. Thank you, Wade, for sharing.
Yeah, I see that there is a question from Nanette. I'm sorry if I misspell in advance. So the question is, you've mentioned an horizontal structure and USA piloting giving and partnership trends. How do different regions, for example, Americas and EMEA, works together towards global philanthropy strategy? So you kind of mentioned it like previously, but maybe with example.
It's not overly complex. The best example is last week when there was flooding in southern Brazil. A teammate that I have a regular one-on-one meeting with said, we have a joint venture in this location. What should we do? I shared our decision-making matrix for, if it's a localized flood, we recommend giving this amount of money, and we recommend activating teammates to deliver water. So that framework has been established to support and to guide decision-making. That teammate then took that framework back to her local team in Brazil, and they aligned with their finance managers on how much to give. They aligned with their human resources team on how to activate people. And then they aligned with their internal communications team on how to get the word out about teammates making their own contributions of bottled water and things like that. And so it was really, I think, a nice dance of different people with different responsibilities working together to create an immediate response. And so that was something that it just started with a one-on-one phone call, and I had the resources to give her to make those decisions, and we all aligned on the proper response based on that. Now, I will say there have been instances where maybe that decision-making framework wasn't adequate to the disaster that we were responding to, and that's where we solicit feedback from our teammates. How can we improve this process, and how can we make it better? And so with this horizontal structure, there is a feedback loop, but it's not just everyone providing feedback to me, but it's also me providing feedback back to our finance managers on how we can execute payment more quickly and how we can be more efficient within this process. So it really does, again, come down to a lot of communication with a lot of individuals a lot of patience, but I think we're all motivated by the same desire, and that makes it much easier.
Okay, thank you. Nanette, does it reply to your question, if you're still with us? In the meantime, I know that we are already overlapping a little bit, but I have a question that I would like to ask. Are you, if you actually do it, are you prioritizing the project that will be supported? Because, I mean, there are a lot of causes, and I'm not saying that there is a hierarchy in like the urgency or like the importance of a causes. But at some point, it's not possible to support every project. So I don't know if you have guidelines for it, and how these guidelines are kind of like flexible enough to take into consideration maybe like a specific country reality, because like specific needs also depend on the country. They will be like, the project will be like supported. So I don't know how you kind of lead this discussion, this reflection.
Yeah, we're on the roadmap to Bridgestone 3.0 in terms of charitable giving. We have a committee that authorizes final payments to nonprofit organizations. And again, we support hundreds of nonprofits year over year. We are focusing in our 5-year plan on some discrete areas of work, again, that leverage our industry expertise. So I conducted a number of stakeholder interviews with those committee members, with other members of our team, to identify, what's important to the business, what's important to our communities. And we did settle on sort of 2 main areas of focus, and that I've already mentioned. So workforce development and road safety. Being a tire company and a mobility solutions company, it just makes sense that those are areas where we create strategic investments and partnerships. That doesn't mean that we're not making smaller local gifts, but we certainly are focused on those, while at the same time increasing our investments into technical career scholarships, technical career development, road safety activities, especially around schools, making pedestrian crosswalks more visible and safer. So these are activities that over the next 5 years will have greater focus and attention, not just in the Americas, but globally. So yeah, we are trying to become more sophisticated in our strategic approach to giving that way. Okay,
perfect. So it's like aligning business goals to social goals as well, if I understand properly.
Right. That's right.
Okay, great. I don't have anything else to share. So I don't know if Kenneth, you have a last word, or Wade, if you have a last word. Otherwise, I will liberate. I don't know if we can say this in English. I will, close this session. Thank you too for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Wade, for sharing your experience and sharing the way Bridgestone works. It was very interesting. It's very interesting insights for all of us. So thank you very much for taking the time to share your experience.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you everyone for attending. I hope you'll reach out, and you can be found on LinkedIn, and we'll be happy to speak further.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. And I allow myself to publish in the chat section. We also released an ebook on effective environmental environmentally related initiative and grant making. So for those who are interested in this topic, you can have a look. That's it. Thank you very much, and see you soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. Thank you, Wade.